I believe very much that many times when we come into a new year, a lot of us usually have plans on things we want to do. We want to grow spiritually. We want to get better with our career. We want to climb up the career ladder, right? We want to even do more when it comes to financial targets and things like that. Personal finance. We want to travel the world. We want to do a lot of things. But sometimes many of us don't have a clear understanding of the things that we can do to get that done. And I would say it took us, when I mean us, me and my family, a bit of time to really understand things that we could lock into to get to that place, because I wouldn't say the understanding around finance was quite passed on for us by our parents. So we had to learn. I mean, we learned a few things from our parents, but not the fullness of it that we could embrace and see the levels of wealth that we wanted to. So that's why we're going to be having that conversation today. So let me let you know, if you are someone who believes that the trajectory on which you are at the moment can change for the better financially, then this is a place for you. If you're someone who understands that you can learn from people who are just steps ahead of you, then you're in the right place. Because I understand that for some people, there's usually a holdback when you want to learn something from people. They want it to be that the person is miles ahead. But I've understood and learned that it doesn't quite happen that way. Sometimes if someone is just a step ahead of you, then they are in the right position to be able to help you, right? And yes, let me just apologize for the sound of my voice as well. I'm dealing with some soreness in my throat, but you will still get the best tonight, all right? Yeah, so if you're in that space wanting more financially and you're ready to bet on yourself, then this is the right place for you to be tonight. And if you're someone who will not be able to stay to the very end, then you could please come back to watch the replay, to watch it to the very end. But I can tell you that every part of what we're going to be discussing tonight will be very valuable for you. And this is C.E.D.A.R Table. And on C.E.D.A.R Table, what we normally do is that we have guests who come to share their perspectives and experiences and sometimes expertise on a particular topic. And today we have with us a member of faculty on our mastermind group, The Science of Getting Rich, as well as two participants who joined us last year. All right, so I'm going to introduce them to you by reading a little bit about them. Nothing too much, but just enough for us to know that the people we're bringing on board today are people who have had some growth in their space and are doing something to also be valuable and a person of a solution provider in their space. All right, so we're going to start with Tolu. Tolu Daudu is an alumnus of the prestigious Obafemi University. She graduated from the Faculty of Pharmacy and has a master's degree in public health from the University of Liverpool. She currently is the Assistant Director of Pharmaceutical Services at Lagos State Health Service Commission. And before now, she was former focal pharmacist in charge of the heart-to-heart clinic for antiretroviral therapy at Massey Children's Hospital and tuberculosis clinic in the same hospital. She's a member of the service charter team, Servicom, at her current posting with the General Hospital Apapa. And in addition, she has completed courses on leadership and management from the University of Washington. All right, so you can see that we already have someone here who is very passionate about growth. So you know that she's not just coming here to just say, okay, I bumped into something. You see someone who is intentional in her space to grow. So she's going to be coming with that perspective for us tonight. Then we go on to Olasukomi Olayoju. Sukomi Olayoju is a seasoned business management system consultant of almost 2 decades with experience spanning manufacturing, services, as well as oil and gas industries. He's a lead auditor in quality, health, safety, and environment. He's a certified manager of quality and organizational excellence, and IFC LPI TPMA. Wow, if you need to know that, please just buzz him. I'm sure he would decode that for you. But the people in his space know what he's talking about. But he is certified in that. He's a certified trainer with that. All right. Olasukomi is a faculty member of Impact Youth World Leadership Initiative, an NGO, and currently principal consultant at Unique Ocean Limited. He is passionate about capacity development. Second person on the panel that you can hear is doing something around growth and business improvement opportunities. He's married to Oluwemimo Olayoju, and they are blessed with 3 beautiful champions. Fantastic. I love the way you tagged your kids there. Champions, that's so good. All right, so let's go to a faculty member that many of you are already familiar with. I know some people will probably be meeting him for the first time, and his bio is not one that we read all the time. So we're still going to go over it tonight, okay? Temitope Ogunfayo studied mechanical engineering at Obafemi Awolowo University in Nigeria. Yes, great Ife. So that makes 3 of us here. And recently obtained his MBA from Warwick University in the UK. Upon graduating, Temitope joined Procter & Gamble in Nigeria and has worked with the firm for the last 17 years, probably even over 17 years, in what he describes as an interesting career. He currently leads the supply chain for the baby care business of P&G in India, Middle East, and Africa, having risen through the ranks across different disciplines and departments, including manufacturing, supply, and demand planning. He was vice president and then president of Christ Ambassador Students Outreach, CASO, in OAU Ile-Ife. And during this period, the fellowship experienced phenomenal growth and impact on campus. Again, guys, growth and development. So we're talking growth here. And if you really want to go in the finance space, this is the right place for you to be tonight, all right? Becoming one of the largest, most dynamic student bodies in the school. He was till 2019 the head of family life unit of the Elevation Church Mainland, where he empowered couples and families to live a fun, filled, and fulfilling life, a role he held until he left Nigeria for his current position. Training and imparting knowledge are great passions, both in and out of the workplace. And it's without a doubt the reason why he's also a member of faculty of the Polished Lens. Temitope is married to his beautiful wife, beautiful friend, and wife, Olubukola, in the person of myself. And together, they are privileged to care for and nurture 3 angels under their roof. So that's another categorization of kids. First champions, now angels. All right. They both run a faith-based marriage ministry called Fortified Together. Now, a lot of you would know me. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through all those details on mine. All right. My bio is written on the FolaFayo.com website. So I'll just say a little bit about myself tonight as well. I am FolaFayo, the perception shaper and founder of the Polished Lens. I'm a certified Maxwell leadership coach with a special focus on transitions. And so if you're someone who's considering a next season or the next level, then you're the person I want to work with. And I would do that using the Thriving Code, which is a 4-pillar concept that I discovered over the last few years and I use and support my clients with. All right. I also podcast and I'm into headshot photography. So I would like to say thank you again to every member of the panel who is here with us. Thank you for joining us, Tolu, Sukomi, and Tokwe.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, madam.
All right. Okay.
Thank you for having us. Great to be here again.
Okay. All right. So
about the coming season.
Awesome. I am excited too. I'm always excited when we start getting to the gist of this. This is always so good. Okay. So we've done some, threading on the waters, stirring the waters. Let's get into the gist. So I know that when we think about creating wealth, we don't just wake up one morning and just say, I want to start to make more money. It usually stems from somewhere, right? Creating wealth actually stems from, somewhere for a lot of us. And the first question I'll be asking our guests tonight will be this. What memorable, all right? So listen to this. What memorable, it could have been memorable or it could have been an emotional experience that you might have had growing up that helped you differentiate between poverty and lack, okay? Having enough or being really rich, all right? So let's put it in 3 categories. Not having enough and being really poor, all right? And then the middle category of having just enough. And then the top category of being really rich. So at what point in your life did you have an experience that made you realize there is a difference between these 3 states? So let's start with Tolu, ladies first.
All right. Once again, thank you for having me, FolaFayo, on this platform. You know, it's like a homecoming because like this time last year, we were having the sessions on the science of getting rich. So it's a good, like a refresher for me. So, okay, quickly, when I talk about memories, I'm not sure if I can exactly pinpoint, like maybe like exact moments, but I can characterize it as like a range of emotions that, growing up, I didn't come from a poor family. So it wouldn't be right for me to say I came from poverty because that's not what happened. I grew up in a relatively middle income home. My parents were both civil servants. That's when I was much younger, and growing up in a family of 6 children, we're 6 siblings. I had 5 siblings, there's 6 of us. So we weren't exactly poor. But one thing I know was that we didn't have excesses. So like, I started understanding that there was a difference when there were certain experiences that people around me were having, or some friends, family friends, that I know that I didn't have. And I knew that it wasn't because it just wasn't there. Because looking back now, I guess, of course, it wasn't a priority for my parents at that time, raising 6 children. Your priority is not giving them the luxury items, or having to do the vacations outside the country. I think that the most of my vacations then growing up was, at my cousin's house or my grandmother's house, and that's like to the extent that I experienced, except for a time when, okay, I went to maybe family friends, we went to their hometown, they gathered a lot of, family friends, children and all. But then I knew that there was a difference when I would hear of maybe family friends talk about how they travel to the US or travel to the UK and stuff like that. And I knew that there wasn't a question of that happening for me, because that conversation never came up in our home to say, oh, okay, so you'll be going to the UK for your summer holiday. I didn't know anything like summer existed, summer holidays. Just like after school, you're on break and you play all day, till you're tired. And sometimes you go to your cousin's place, you play all day there. There was nothing exactly, that was very fanciful. So I think that it's at that point that I realized sometimes I used to feel a bit left out, or when friends in my school would be having fancy parties, and sometimes I wasn't invited. We were invited to some, but not to all. And then you just saw the fanfare going on at these parties, and you knew that that was not the case in our own family. If somebody was having a party, just be kind of like very, mini affair, nothing too grandiose or fantabulous. So I think it was at those times that I started understanding there's a bit of a difference here. Some have it more, and and we just have to, I just had to suck it up and go through it like that. Not expect too much, basically.
Interesting. As you said that now, I just picked some keywords from what you shared,
Okay.
And I think that's what really shows up many times when we are thinking and talking about money, because many times we could judge people by how they prioritize what they spend money on. Because you just said something, you said because your parents didn't prioritize those things, right? So there were not things that came up as conversations in your family. And also reminds me of the conversation we had on the CEDAR table last year, where we looked into what our parents passed on to us. And the question I probably will be asking anyone who is a parent today is, what kind of conversations are you having at home with your kids on money? Because that, I tell you, is where it starts to get shaped. Because when we're talking about creating wealth, right, which is one of the things we've learned, if you do not change how things were before, you will try, but you cannot sustain that change. That's what's going to happen. And you need to start asking, what kind of conversations were you having? What were you feeding your mind with? And interestingly enough, we get to look into some of these things when we are on the program. So Sukomi, let's hear your own gist. How was it for you realizing that there's a difference between having and not having, being poor and being very rich? How was it for you?
I'll say that good evening all. Thank you very much FolaFayo for having me. And first, it's a privilege to be on this side of the table and be talking about science of getting rich. The word rich was a lofty goal when we were growing up. I think I'll from where I was then, I will still look at Tolu's family as a very rich family. compared to us, it was really, really, really rough. I pondered on this, and as Tolu was speaking, there was one experience I can never forget in my life, and it's something that every time I picture it, it makes me have a different outlook to the way I relate, especially in certain space in my life. And it is one occasion where we could not get to pay our rents growing up. And then I don't know what they call these folks then that they hired to come and throw your stuff out. And it was a bad moment. It was a bad moment. We had plans for the day and all of that. I don't know whether you grew up like me. There is a turntable that we used to have So I have records play. It was underneath it that I remember. I'm just picturing it now. I think my dad or my mom kept a certain amount of money there for something. And, you know, after all of this move, that money, of course, you should expect now, was nowhere to be found. Of course, it was resolved. My dad was giving more time to get the stuff resolved, and then we went back. Every time I remember that experience, yes, now that I have, to the glory of God, property and I have tenants, I never wanted that kind of experience to happen. Even when there is a push to say that you need to raise your rent, I play back from that point and it's like, okay, this guy will not go through that experience. I think, yes, things might be difficult, but we might have to have some discussion. So from that point, I understand the place of when you said poor poverty. Permit me to borrow some street language, and maybe PT understands. There is one word that they call kolobe. I don't know whether you might not understand. I don't think FolaFayo understand.
Try me.
It's when
Try
no,
me.
I can't try you. You are either. You know, when you go get either eba or pounded yam without stew, that you come to your house to prepare stuff. It was that wonderful then. But I see my parents committed to, yes, to be honest, like Riley said, all their aspiration is send these kids to school, let them have good education. At least one of them will pull us out of poverty when they get out. So it wasn't a discussion as to how do you make wealth. There was no discussion as to how do you sustain wealth. There was no discussion as to how do you multiply the wealth. It was more about survival. It was more about how do we get to go by. It was more about, okay, don't look at others, don't compare yourself, you know. And those things also come around like limiting beliefs at some point. You don't need to compare yourself. Don't look at them. Be content with what you have. It's God that blesses. Stay on your lane. Just trust God. Be doing it. One day, everyone will smile on you and things will get better. You know, yes, it helps us to be content, but it limits aspirations. You know, until, of course, then breaking out of that, going to not even higher institution, secondary school, visiting some friend's house, and of course, you don't want to form ignorance. You have seen some things on TVs and you've read. Now you see telephone, really access to telephone that you have to dial and call people. We spent days there. That house became my second home. You know, if you ask me for phone number, I give the phone number of my friend's house. When they call, he's not yet here. Don't worry, we'll come. I'll come and pick the call. You know, you can weigh the difference from where you are at, where are your peers at, and then so that helps again to begin to have some answers. Okay, life can be better. There are better opportunities out there, and that's how we grow up. But we bless God. He has taken us from not enough to not just enough, but we are transiting to more than enough.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I love that. I love that. I love that. And there was something really key that you said there that I would like to emphasize a bit, you know, when you said the statement, heaven will smile on you. Maybe one day heaven will smile on you. And I think that's probably what a lot of people come into the financial space with. Then when they try their stuff and in their mind, they're thinking, it's chance, it's by chance. So a lot of people approach wealth creation like it's a chance thing. So they're not even understanding the things that go into creating it, that there's a positioning that can happen. And that's what happens with a lot of people. And, you know, you're also defining not having enough as a state where people just try to survive. And then it helps you realize when you had that tough experience growing up that, no, I'm not going to have this again. And really, for a lot of people who weren't born with a silver spoon, they usually have an experience or more that puts them in that place where they're like, no, this is not going to continue. I'm not going to live through this. I really don't understand why some people don't push through to more eventually, or desire more. Now I know why they don't push through with all that I've learned, but I don't know why they don't desire that. But I would tie that with what you just said, when you just have this thinking that it's by chance, heaven might smile on me. And you think that the people who are enjoying more than you today, are the people who heaven might have smiled on. That's quite interesting. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Tokwe Agofaya, we'll go with you on this one.
Yeah.
What I know, you also have had your own experiences as well, and you've shared that with other people in the past. And so, what I want to ask you to confirm for us today is, as a person who has, grown from a place of not born with a silver spoon, at what point did you classify what rich would be to you? For you to be able to say, I am now rich, because you're coming from a place where you're like, we are not rich. So at what point would you have said to yourself growing up that, okay, I am now rich? And what steps did you take growing up to achieve this so far?
Yeah, thank you very much, FolaFayo. And again, good evening, good afternoon to all our listeners. I really like the way Tolu and Sukomi started this. And I want to follow up on that, and then I would zoom into the question that you asked, because I think Sukomi put it beautifully, right? Trying to describe the different levels of economic realms of living, because there are different levels, right? Level one is survival, as you try to paint. The interesting thing is that survival realm, or all the realms, are very relative. So it depends on who you are talking to. So like you rightly said, you feel that Tolu's family was rich, right? Some other persons will look at Tolu's family as poor. So first is the realm of survival, where, people are just trying to make ends meet. Then you go to the next level, or the next realm, which is comfort, right? Like you rightly described, of enough, just enough. We're okay. And I think Tolu's family will probably fall there, where we say we're comfortable. I would not say we're poor, we're comfortable. There's another realm, which most of us used to aspire to then. That's the realm of luxury. So survival, comfort, then luxury, where we say, wow, these people are enjoying life. Okay, one experience for me is my mom used to have a friend that it was only in her house that I used to take ice cream. And I used to look forward to it. I mean, you finish eating and they serve you ice cream. I used to remove my socks so that I could wriggle my toes, right? Ice cream, as in I considered ice cream as luxury. Then, so survival, you move to comfort, you move to luxury. And guess what? As I grew up, I recognized that there is another realm. That's the realm that we're all aspire. That's the realm of extravagance, where it's not only luxury. People even beef you. They are like, these people are wasting money. It's not really wasting money. I mean, you've experienced survival, comfort, you come into luxury, and you come into the realm of extravagance, where it's more than enough. You're free to give, you're free to share, you're free to multiply. And hopefully, as you join us in this study of the science of getting rich, this is the level that we all aspire to be. Now, to go back to your question, at what level? When poverty has dealt with you, you receive wisdom, right? You receive sense. Interestingly enough, I discovered through Sukomi's testimony that we went through the same experience, and we've never discussed it before. I also remember vividly one fateful morning, when people who pack stuffs out of the house came to pack our stuffs out. And in our own case, as all the stuffs were outside, heavens opened and rain fell. So you can imagine, what do you move first? We lost half of our properties to the rain. Well, it's not as if they were expensive properties or any meaningful property, but even the non-meaningful one, you lost them to rain that day, right? And then, I led a group in school, and I used to visit people like Tolu and others. And, the exact thing you said, I will write all the phone numbers that I will have to call. And when I visit one person, I call 10 people, and I feel like, phone, free phone. It was in those days and during those periods that I told myself that poverty is a bully, poverty is a bastard. It will not bully me. I'm not going to allow it. And then I started to make positive steps. One of the encounters that I would never be ashamed to share is an encounter with the Word of God. Many of the things that I learned today, I learned about wealth from the Bible. And this is one interesting thing, because the science of getting rich, when people hear it, they are like, oh, it's not biblical. No, it's actually in the Bible. It's in the Word of God. It's in scriptures. And then I started getting exposed to books, some of which we will talk about in this program, started reading those things, and it suddenly appeared to me that the first step to get wealth, all right, is in the mind. I found out that actually my mind was poor. So I was experiencing poverty because in my mind, I had not experienced riches. So as my mind started to change, it was a matter of time before those wealth, those riches started to manifest in the physical. So if you ask me, for a point in time, it was exposure to the Word of God that started to change my mindset, exposure to books and resources that first affected my mindset, and then my mindset then impacted my skill set that then gave rise to wealth coming to my side. Again, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I can tell you I am not where I used to be. Far from it.
Great perspective there. I was just smiling now when you said, oh, my first change to wealth was having an encounter with God's word. My mind, I'm like, yeah, that's why you're the one handling biblical perspective. Because on the science of getting rich, we give you a wholesome experience. We understand that there are believers who come with a lot of hesitation, which we will talk about now. And so just to make them understand that this is what God desires for us and God really wants to bless for us, Dr. FolaFayo is the faculty member that handles the biblical perspectives space on the program. All right, so Komi, let's hear your own experience on defining riches for yourself, right? Because now it seems like telephone, ice cream was an experience, right? For a lot of people, any house where there was ice cream, any house where there was telephone, okay, this is well. So beyond telephones and ice cream, right? What were you looking out for to determine for yourself that, you know, you had now finally gotten to wealth, and what steps had you taken in the past to try to achieve that?
Wow. Great question. Thank you, FolaFayo. I'll say I'll take a cue from where Dr. FolaFayo stopped, which is I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. To be honest, my definition of being rich right now is freedom to do what I would like to do, freedom to express myself, freedom to give without hesitation. Permit me to, I'm sure Tolu will nod at this, during the C.E.D.A.R set, you know, there was an example FolaFayo gave about when you go to a restaurant, do you read from the right to left or left to right? You know, that came home direct. And for those that are listening to us, and you can testify, if you are always looking at the menu from the right to the left, it is technically you are checking your pocket before you eat. But when you read from left to right, it is, yes, you want to have a meal regardless of what the cost is. And to the glory of God, that is our experience at the moment. And beyond just even feeding fat, it is that you are able to be a blessing to others. In recent times, and I think about a year or two ago, my thought has been all around legacy. I think at about, permit me to sound biblical if it's allowed, at about, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, one morning, the Holy Spirit woke me up to, what do you want to write on as your epitaph? And I'm like, what's that? I'm not yet ready to die. What's that? You know? And looking at that, and that reflection came to me as so really, what is my life going to be worth after all of that? Small dash, this AD to this AD. Is it AD now? Yeah, AD, yeah. This to this, right? Yes, it's a man that loved God, it's a man that loved his family, and it's a man that served humanity. So I begin to look at it. So how do I serve humanity? How do I become a blessing? And I look around me, I see, like where we started from, poverty is real. I look at people having things difficult. And sometimes, as simple as that is, things I can part with and look away from is all they need to smile. So I don't get to wait again to ask for people coming to ask, but when I see a need and I trust God to help, I try to fix it. I know that got me into some troubles where my wife started saying you cannot be El Shaddai for everybody. But at the same time, it's just a compassion that I mean, I know where I'm coming from. If I can help solve other people's problem, I think I will give glory to God for that. So for me, the state is I can take a decision on certain things without having money as a restraint. I can be able to help others. I can sow seeds without checking the color of what it is that is going to affect me. And that for me, it's a journey and it's been very good. So I transited from hoarding to said, I just need to have enough to move me around, to the point that no, what I have, there's much more to come. Yes, there is the principle of building, there is the principle of setting aside, but there's also the place of giving. You know, I was saying something prior to where we started, that there's a book I won't say stumble on it. It just came into reasoning, giving it all away, you know, and it's one book that I've been chewing these days, that out of all that God has given us, I should be able to help people around. So for me, being rich is not only accumulation, but also having influence and being able to impact others around.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. I think one thing I don't want to miss, dropping is that I feel when many people think about wealth and riches, there's a tendency for you to just think about it with respect to figures, right? And so that could be a little bit daunting, because your mind, you're like, okay, am I supposed to be targeting 5 million? Am I supposed to be targeting 10 million? Am I supposed to be targeting in naira, in dollars, in euros, or something? And then you're at that point. But I think sometimes you might actually want to look at what could you be doing with wealth if you had it, because that also could now help you to streamline because sometimes some figures are not things that you require for the things you want to do. You don't even need as much as, you're like, I just want to be able to bless people at this level. You might not need as much as maybe the likes of Bill Gates and all that, right? So I think it's something that we should start thinking about. At what point? I mean, that's a question for those that have joined the session tonight and those that will be watching the replay, is to say, at what point will I be able to say I'm rich and I'm wealthy? All right. And so since we referred a bit to faith and, Bible and Christianity, a little while back, Tolu, I know that you're also a believer and you're a person of faith. I would like you to share with us what you think could be a holdback for Christians or people of faith, really, when it comes to desiring wealth or trying to achieve wealth. What could be the greatest challenge that they have?
Okay. I think for me, the first word that comes to my mind is some kind of pious, a pious mindset or a self-righteous mindset. Like growing up in Nigeria and Christendom in Nigeria, you get taught to, take up your cross, follow God. We are taught that there's a narrow path that leads to life. There's the wide one that leads to destruction. And then, so somehow, I don't know where we got that construct from, to think that if you're in that place where you are comfortable, where things are, where you have ease, then it means that your Christianity is not yet tested. You have to go through trials. You have to go through some stringent times. Now, not everybody will go through that, that phase of being at the survival mood. Some people escape that, just by reason of, their family and stuff. But we always thought, like, if things are too easy for you, or if you are too comfortable, then there's a problem somewhere. It's either you are now become worldly, and then your Christian faith has not been tried. You have not gone through those times of, for sometimes I believe that even for some people, like, it's a thing here where everybody tries to compare things of like who suffer past. Although the truth is, it makes for some interesting conversation, when somebody tells you, like, now, I remember that Pastor T story about, when they had to be ejected from their property and rain fell. I actually remember that he had actually shared that story with me back then. And I remember then I was even traumatized on his behalf. I know I felt bad and all that. And I'm not downplaying that story or saying that if you're trying to say for effect, but one thing I noticed that in Christianity, a lot of people like to have that I grew up from nothing and then I'm now something. And then some people feel that if you have too much, you'll probably be too comfortable. And when you are too comfortable, you won't need God as much. So sometimes we want to box ourselves into that. I want to get to that point where I need God. I want to be able to pray and fast for a visa appointment and then get the visa and come and give testimony in church of how I got the visa or how I got to study in one prestigious university by one hand of faith, one hand of faith. And so I think that sometimes we've gotten so used to that we can't see beyond that. There's also another realm. There's another realm where you can be wealthy. I mean, even scripture gives us examples. Abraham was not a poor man by any standard. I mean, even reading the story of Abraham and when he had to go and rescue his nephew Lot from Sodom and Gomorrah, the Bible records that he had over 300 trained soldiers. I mean, even for that time, I guess it wasn't something like the average man can have, like 300 trained, skilled soldiers, and that he could go to Sodom and Gomorrah, it's like to rescue Lot, and then we have scriptures that talks about the grandeur and the splendor of King David, King Solomon. And we are told that King David was the man after God's heart. So I don't know how we're able to get sucked up into that ideology of, as a Christian, things that if you have too much money, then you won't serve God or you won't have the heart for God. But in recent times, we see now the importance of money, even to the church. I mean, you see churches are doing so many great things now, building ministries all over the place, hospitals, even schools, donating all over the world. And you realize that these things require money. It's not, God has placed principles upon the earth, which we need to follow to be able to activate some things. So God, I don't think God has ever thrown down money. He threw down manna, but that wasn't money. So we know that whatever we need is going to be sourced from the earth, which is one of the things we also learned in Science of Getting Rich. The resources are in the earth, and it's now our own responsibility now to get it out of the earth. Yeah. We don't have to labor so much anymore because we are under a new covenant, Yeah. So I think that sometimes that gives us a bit of, you almost feel guilty for having some things or for enjoying some things.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, that is like a self-righteousness that if I suffer small, then my faith is.
That's an interesting one. I like the words you use there. Bear up the cross. Take up your cross. There's a narrow path. So if it is not tight, it's not God. So even finance, if it is not tight, it's not God. That's interesting. And you need to pray. Yeah, exactly. We need to have a breakthrough. We need to experience a breakthrough, right? And that's probably one of the holdback. I'm talking about FolaFayo. I mean, you are the one who takes the biblical perspective on the program. And I know that you are coming from a place of service in the body of Christ as well. What holds people back in addition to what Tolu has shared?
Yeah, thank you very much. Again, if you really want to know and you have joined this program or listening to the replay, please join the study of the science of getting rich. All your misconceptions will fly away. So again, I think for me, bottom line is misconception. People are just either misrepresenting what the Bible has said or they don't understand it. Also when you grow up in an environment like ours, like in Nigeria or in Africa, it also limits your understanding because your environment affects what you think, right? So let me give you one or two examples of the misconception. Now, the one, similar to what Tolu said, there's a misconception that holiness and having lots of money are mutually exclusive events. You have to pick one. Who told you that? Why can't I have both? Do we have scriptural references of people who have both? In the study of the science of getting, we will show you dozens of examples in scriptures of people who had both. Okay, so that's one misconception. Another misconception is that money is evil. Money is evil, right? In fact, people misquote the Bible and say the love of money is the root of all evil, whereas the Bible didn't say that. It said the love of money. So you will also learn that money is neutral. Money is neither moral nor immoral. Money takes the value of the person who has the money. So if money makes people bad, it's not the money that made them bad. They were bad people before they got the money. Okay, so if you look at it conceptually, the problem that holds people back, especially people of faith, is misconceptions about money. And the fact that money might have, or riches might have, some side effects is not enough reason not to go after it. Every one of us take Panadol, right? Ask Tolu, the pharmacist, what are the side effects of Panadol? She will list for you side effects of Panadol. Some of us don't even know the side effects. We don't care to know. We just know that Panadol cures headache, body and pain, Panadol extra for headache. We just take it. We go. We don't care about the side effect. But when it comes to money, we only focus on the side effect, not the benefit of the headache, not the cure of the headache. That's a misconception. That's a problem. No, we are not saying there are no side effects, but what does it cure? Money cures something, wealth cures something, and what it cures is massive. I just want to wrap up my answer by saying this. When you are free from those misconceptions, you will realize that what we are saying is not that, money makes some people special than others. No, we will all be equal in God's eyes, right? Poor people are not less valuable than rich people. But guess what? Rich people are more impactful than poor people. If you want to argue that, go and look at the impact of Elon Musk. Even people who are not of faith. Look, those guys sneeze and the world will shake. Economies shake. Global economies shake. Why can't it be us? Why can't we use our godliness to transmit that to the earth because of the impact that wealth gives us? So to answer your question, FolaFayo, it is the misconceptions that come with riches that holds people back.
Fantastic. I like that. I was just reading a comment right now and I was thinking, are we going to, ask you to respond to that? But honestly, as you were just giving your response now, you were basically answering the person. So it was Kayode who was saying that, the lack of, having a lot of riches could lead to a lack of contentment and, a place of greed. And then, you become like like a grave that never gets satisfied, but I like the way you ended it there, saying that, money takes the value of the owner. It is neutral. If you put money in the hands of Mother Teresa, she will do incredible things. And I think she did, because she had a lot of people funding the charities she was involved in. All right. If you put money in the hands of someone who would, bring chaos to the world, they would do the same. Money is neutral. If anyone is seeing a side of them that, they didn't see before, it was always there. It was something that needed to be dealt with. But I also like this particular one, that while money might not quite change our value as people, it would change the level of impact that we have. The truth is, if I did not have access to the things that I use today, the lives that God has helped me to change today, I would not have been able to do it. The ease with which I use some of the things I have today, I would not be able to. And if you think back at every single time you've made an impact in someone's life, money was involved. And you can now imagine leveling it up, taking it to the next level, and the next level, and the next level. So without a doubt, if you are a believer, if you just still feel that, FolaFayo, I'm still not getting this thing, then you need to be on this program. Let's help you pull that down, all right? Because really, until you get that part right, your journey to wealth is still going to be stunted. Your growth will still be stunted. All right. So let's go into the material now. I have my own story about the material. I've shared it with the members of the group in the other session and last year's as well. And that's the fact that this, whenever I think about the fact that I use this resource today to support people, I laugh at myself, because God is really a God of humor. Because years ago, I'm talking about 2000 and 2007. That's about over 14 years ago, thereabout. A friend of ours made a print of this book, made a print, didn't give us this copy, made a print and handed it over to his friends. Say, guys, I read this book. This will change you. This will help you. So my husband and myself, just like I've mentioned at the beginning, we like to read, we like to grow. Okay, let's see what is there. And we started to read. First chapter, what is this? Second chapter, what is this? I just told my husband, Mio, I'm not going to read this book. I don't think it is God's book. I think it's going to take our heart away from God. Oh, I don't think it is godly, And I think he read a bit of it too. And, he was like, I think we can shelve it. And we shelved the book. 2007, 2006, thereabout. We shelved the book till 2019, when I had the opportunity of actually digging deep into the book with mentors. And I can tell you, everything changed. And I was like, what? For over 10 years, I missed the opportunity of understanding how to position for wealth creation with biblical perspective. Because that was also what helped me. Now, understanding, having the balance with a biblical perspective. And I can tell you today that the trajectory of our family finance took a shift. It took a shift. Yes, Tokwe said earlier that we're not where we want to be yet. There's some things we still want to do well. So we're on the journey, but we're definitely not where we were even last year, because things have changed. Things keep changing. Every time we go through the material, every time we go through the program with new participants, things change. So I know Tolu and Sukomi would also have had their own experiences. I want to know what it was like for you. Even hearing from me then that come and join a resource the size of Getting Rich. Sukomi, let me start with you. What was it like for you at the beginning?
That's a, should I start by saying story?
Story.
Thank you very much for that, Fire. So I'll probably permit me to take a small tilt at where we started from, riding on Christians, and then how we get into the issue of handling money. And I think I'll tie that to my experience with doing this material. Largely for me, it is first, I don't want to use the word the authenticity of our faith, but it's also about our openness to the word of God making a change in our life. It will go a long way to help us to accept new information when we see them and be able to filter them aright. Like what Toko Ogunfaya did said, a lot of time tradition and the environment is what most of us build our Christianity on, not on the word itself, not the authentic word. So we are listening to the word, but we are also allowing tradition and the environment to dictate the shape of our faith and how we take our faith walk. So that is what is alluding to what Tolu has said about narrow is the way, wide is the path. So it is always good to stay humble, have a little, just enough, and go to heaven, than have too much and you go to hell. And that is what has really pushed a lot of people out of this space. So putting it back to my experience as to Science of Getting Rich, to be honest, when I got the call from FolaFayo, I think what did not make me shy away from it is your testimony and my understanding of who you are and your family. That for me was the door that opens me up to it. Maybe if it had come from somebody who I don't know their background, I would have had a second check. And I think, like my wife said, we had an opportunity to look at the book sometime, but to be honest, it's just the cover page. Science of Getting Rich. They have come again. all these kind of things that has diabolic intentions. No, I want to stay holy. Let me make heaven. But my experience, and to be honest, yes, you can read the book by yourself, but coming into that master class really folks opened me up and opened my family up. If there is any resource that I will keep referring to, and I don't know about any other person, I'm sure maybe Tolu can bear me witness, is listening to the audio part that FolaFayo did on this really was for me the I will call it the undertone, just like you have the iOS and the Android powering the phone, was for me the undertone. You know, there is a clause you always use, pause and read that again. So even till tomorrow when I read the material, I tell myself in my pause, read it again. That is Selah. Slow down. Go back over it again. There is something that this thing is saying. There is some. So a lot of times we read materials and we just gloss over them. A lot of times we pick up materials, and I'm learning that these days, it's not about finishing cover to cover. It's about, can you extract the meat and the content of that material? And now when you now come into a room with people of like minds that can share experience, take a portion of the book and relate it to life experience and tell you about practical things, and then you look at it again, it's like, really? It's just like the scripture opening to you. Forgive me, I will always make reference to the scripture, right? It's like when Jesus was walking with those disciples on the way to Emmaus, and the Bible said he was telling them about, he said it was burning in their hearts. But when they got home and they broke the bread, he said their eyes popped open and then they were able to see. So that is what happened to me. Coming to that masterclass, there were a lot of eureka moments for me. There was a shift in mindset. And that was where I think Dr. Gufaya killed it. There is something that had to happen, first of all, to your mind before it can begin to happen in your life. And the opening text, I think, in the book was said, things come to us by thoughts, and then we receive it by action. I can never forget that one. So there is so much abundance. And you know, there was a line in one of the books, I can't remember, I think in the first chapter, that says, take a look at the tree. If you can count the number of leaves on it. I've seen trees before, you know, the abundance mentality, that fact that nobody is struggling with you. There is so much that even if it seems as if the earth still needs oil, I think that's Dr. Gufaya that mentioned that in one of those classes, that if we're saying renewable energy, right? And then there is still need for oil, and they say oil is dried up, oil will still produce again for us. So the idea is not getting choked, not coming with the mentality, that scarcity mentality. I must have it all, I must hoard it, you know, can all you can, sit on it, and then sit on all those kind of stuff. So it opened me up, and the fact that people were vulnerable and we could learn from ourselves, the fact that, okay, I've not catch up, I need to go read up on this, and the community made us to really get the best out of it. For me, the takeaway and my experience is, you can go fast as a person, but you can go farther with a community of like minds. So coming to this SOGR, right, is for me, I'm sure whoever joins this team, your life will not remain the same again. It's not a cliche. No, it is not like come to this thing, your life will change. Come with an open mind. I can assure you, your finances will take a new turn. I'm a living witness.
Awesome.
And I have proofs.
Awesome.
Let me pause there now.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. So Tolu, let's hear from you. What was your initial reaction to the title of the book, and, you know, coming on a resource like that, right? And I also wanted to add something there. How does it compare to any other book, you know, you might have read in the past on wealth creation?
Okay. So first thoughts on the about the masterclass. Oh yeah, so like committee said, you know, when there are some titles that you see and it just preempts you to begin to think a certain way, pun intended. So you know, like so like think that science of getting rich, like me too. At first, I'm like, okay, it's probably all this metaphysical stuff about how, you know, you have to do some kind of meditation and stuff. And so yes, there's that initial hesitation. And then because also, as FolaFayo, in her, you know, preparatory discussions that we had, you know, you had said stuff about how, you know, be open-minded and stuff. And, you know, it's kind of like when somebody tells you be open-minded, it makes your heart go immediately to say, okay, so there's something here. that's supposed to make me close-minded. So you're already guarded somewhat that, okay, I wonder what we are going to see. But funny enough, and to the contrary, I think that the book actually helped to solidify for me a lot of Christian principles. Because I know I must have said this sometime during the master class as we go through. I just realized that, wait a minute, all the things that I'm reading in this book is not against what I've learned in church in terms of like my present church, the things I've heard in terms of, prosperity. It's almost like it was confirming those things and confirming, tried to break it down. It didn't come with a lot of, scriptures and a lot of, Christianese, let me use that word, that it would make you think that, okay, this is just another Christian author that's just trying to, motivate. And so I was like, this book actually speaks a lot even to the Christian faith, and it just confirms what scripture and what the kingdom principles are concerning wealth and wealth creation. So for me, there were a lot of nuggets. There's some things that for me were new, were the concept of how the earth will always produce resources that is needed. And for me, that was like, okay, deliverance from, that fear of somebody gets to something first. Then that means that place is short for every other person. So because FolaFayo has started this coaching thing, and then that means that even if I wanted to go into coaching, probably there's no space for me there. I know just leads credence to that is a Yoruba, is it what do you call an adage that says the sky is big enough for all the birds to fly. And it just goes to say, whatever you want to achieve in life, there is room for you as a person because there is abundance of resources. So for that one, the competitive part of human nature, it speaks to that. And that's what also the book talks about, using our creative mind rather than the competitive mind. So you're not trying to outdo another person. You're not trying to compete with somebody for a particular thing, or to think that if I don't do this now, if I don't work against this person, I'm not going to be able to get this certain amount of wealth, and prosperity. And the book helps us to see that that's not true. That as long as for as many people who are on this earth, there is enough resources for everybody to be fruitful, to be prosperous, to be wealthy. And speaking to the group, the master class, I think for me, definitely that was a huge, huge, huge plus. Because, there's something, even scripture talks about how iron sharpeneth iron, and then a friend sharpens countenance of his friend. Because reading something like that on your own, you might not be able to get to the, to the other experiences that other people have. I have my own experiences. I don't have too much experiences. I'm limited in, what I've experienced. But I can leverage on the experiences of other people, what other people have gone through, how they see it, how it relates to their own journey. And then I can also, like extrapolate that to my life to say that, oh, okay, so that means that peradventure somebody else is ahead of me in a certain part of this wealth journey. It just confirms to me that it's possible for me to also get there. Having in mind also that we are using the creative now, not the competitive. So the masterclass was beautiful in that we are able to rub minds, and it helps to reinforce the things you have learned. And it also keeps you interested. Because I know that maybe sometimes it can be boring reading a book all by yourself. But when you have somebody that you can share ideas, oh, what did you get from this? And somebody tells you, like, oh, I didn't see this. And because this book has, funny enough, I was just trying to go through the book again today. Reading chapter 1 or one of the chapter. I was like, did I actually read this? It looks like as if I had never read that chapter before. As in, it was like, did I actually read this? Oh, so this book is saying this, So it attests to the newness of the book. Each time you go through it, there's something new that is popping up. There's something that you can get from it. And for me, there are so many chapters, that speaks to my where I am today and helping me to also move forward in, this journey of wealth creation, of abundance and all. So the book is a valuable book. It's an invaluable book, let me put it that way. And then beyond that is also the community, like Sukomi said, the fact that you can come together, you have people that you never met before, you can have discussions, they can open your eyes to things, you can open their eyes to things, you can rub minds, you can challenge one another, because I think that that's another important aspect of this kind of thing, is that you get challenged that, oh, okay, I remember like one of us that wrote a book. I'm trying to remember her name now. It just slipped me, and then she put it on our WhatsApp page, I'm like, I'm doing things, So, those things, they just spur you and they encourage you to know that all things are possible, really.
Yeah.
And so long as we have opened our minds to it, and then we can conceive it, like what the book talks about, the law of attraction, all those things, they all come together to form like a very solid network on which one can build a foundation for, wealth creation, and beyond wealth creation, even just for everyday living, all those nuggets that we learned in the book, they are invaluable to life, going forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for the watch. So now I'm going to be careful telling people be open-minded. Because I know that if I say be open-minded, they're going to
once you just say that word, be open-minded, your mind goes, oh, there's something I should be worried about.
Exactly. They're going to be on the watch. I'll probably need to look for a synonym for that, to let people come in expectant. Maybe I'll start using the word be expectant for the change that you're going to have. All right, fantastic. I like the fact that you also, touched a little bit on some of your big parts of the book. I hear you talk about the creative plane and all that. So we've also asked Dr. FolaFayo. I know Tolu said something that it is true. Every single time you read this book, it is like new. I don't understand what it is about the book, really. It is like new every single time, right? And I will tell you that I read the book, give or take, in a year, I could read it like 3 times. And then, of course, around the time of the program, I read it again. I mean, and it always, my book is fully marked, underlined. And, I look at the things I've underlined and I'm like, what was the reason why I underlined this one? This is the one I should have underlined, Because the season of your life is determining how you see a part of the book, right? And so you can imagine having that form of collaboration from other people, because everyone else in the mastermind group is coming with a different perspective, and they're in different seasons from you. So you know that the perspectives that they're sharing from will have a bit of a differentiation from yours. So Dr. FolaFayo, how would you compare this material with others that you've read? Because I know that you're also a reader. So I want you to tell us how you would compare it with other materials you've read, and what part of the book for you would you say is your favorite part? What concept or what idea is your? I know Tukami will be thinking, FolaFayo, why are you giving us this hard work? It will be difficult to choose. There are so many things. But because of time, we're going to share just one thing. All right. So talk about FolaFayo. How would you compare this with other books on finance that you've read? All right. And what would be your favorite concept or chapter or idea from the book?
Now, this book is very different from all the other finance books that I've read. This book, even the writing style is very different, right? And this book, I won't even call it a book. I will call it an instruction manual, right? The guy said from the very beginning, if you are not, going to do what I'm asking you to do, you're not ready, right? In fact, he was so confident of the instruction that he said, look, only obey these instructions. Don't obey any other one. If you just focus on this, you will be home and dry, right? In fact, it would almost discourage you from reading any other book on finance, right? While I am not to that extreme yet, I find this book very different. The language, the way it was written, and like you all alluded to, it's freshness. I mean, even today I reviewed my notes and I'm like, what have you been doing with this, right? And there are loads of concepts. In fact, one of the things I remember is we've run 2 sessions now. This will be the 3rd. If you ask each participant what chapter stood out for them, everyone will pick a different chapter. And by the time they explain it, you'll be like, why didn't I see that? How come I didn't understand it that way? Right? But because FolaFayo has restricted us to one, the one that has stayed with me is an impression of increase. I go around consciously wanting to leave an impression of increase. As I'm joining you right now, I'm joining from India. So I'm actually 4.5 hours away from Nigeria. It's almost 3 a.m. my time, right? And it's an overwhelming desire that When I leave the city, when I leave my team, when I leave anywhere that I go, I leave an impression of increase. There's a story that I cannot forget in that chapter. It's a story of, he was describing when Winston Churchill's mother visited two different politicians, right? After a visit to one of the politicians, she said this. She said, talking to this guy, I thought he was the cleverest man in the whole of England, right? Then she had a meeting with the second one, and she said this about the second one. I left feeling that I was the cleverest woman in the whole of England. You see, why? The second person gave her an impression of increase. So anywhere I find myself, I give an impression of increase, not just monetary-wise, even wisdom-wise, material-wise. I want to leave an impression of increase. And it's as a result of an encounter that I had in chapter 14 of this book that has refused to leave me. And I pray that it will never leave me.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Yeah, and for those who probably will be trying to read the book on their own, which we will definitely encourage you to do ahead of the group sessions, if you would like to do that. You might not find that story in the book. It's actually on the audio resource that we have on the hub. So yes, we have it as part of the stories we shared on the hub. You might not exactly find that in the book, in case you're looking for that in the book. And you're like, I'm looking for the story of the woman who was, so that you won't be confused about that, but definitely that. And talk about FolaFayo, I am in line with you on that. I am right behind you, beside you, around you. That is my favorite concept from the book, the impression of increase. That is my favorite, as in it is so good, because many of us, when we go into interactions or conversations with people, we are not thinking win-win a lot. We are thinking, how can I make the best of this, right? But you now need to leave not that level of just win-win to a place of, okay, how can I even give an extra? So if one of my mentors would say it this way, how would you want people to leave you saying things like, oh, I got the best from this person, I cheated this person. Let the person feel like they cheated you. That's what they will even say. That you will have offered the person a good part in the deal, that the person will feel like they cheated you. That's like another level of impression of increase. So it is an incredible concept. And every time you look into that one, I tell you, every time it always brings back a lot of opportunities of blessing, of doors. I'm currently on a particular deal I'm closing now that was tied to an impression of increase. So I tell you, it works every single time. So Sukomi, what about you? What would you say is your own favorite part of the book? Just one.
When you say just one, that is like trying to constrict us to just say one. Okay, I'll say one. And I think you already know my one.
Yes, I do.
You know my one?
Yes, okay, I do. Chapter 7. Chapter 7.
Spot on. It's chapter 7. Gratitude. And the truth about it is that chapter, yes, I'd always known it's good to give gratitude, but it opened me up in another way. So I don't walk away from any encounter or relation or business deal feeling ungrateful. It helped me to begin to appreciate the seemingly little things that sometimes we take for granted. Just the contact that somebody slipped in, just the connection that somebody brings your way. The going with that mind of appreciation helps you to attract the increase that is all around. I permit me to share a very life example that is I don't want to call it's not a project, but because it's an ongoing job for me, an opportunity that came in during COVID, and it was based on an experience I'd had previously working with a lady I'd never seen in my life. We had never had phone conversations. All we had is emails, and I think the best was sharing WhatsApp.
Wow.
but I never close my mails with her anytime. I will always have that one line. Thank you for the opportunity of working with you. At some point, there is a part of me that said, won't she feel like she's being patronized? Won't she feel like, what is wrong with this African guy? Every time you keep saying, thank you for the opportunity. But you know what? Just even myself, I know that line is like, it keeps opening doors. When you're supposed to have done a job of just 3 months, now you are running it for 9 months. Now they are giving you other assignments from other continents that are not in your space. And you begin to wonder, what makes me special? Is just going with the art of gratitude. And I think I shared this in one of our class sessions then. These days, when seemingly door closed, I don't see it as closed. I see it as a reroute. I'm grateful for it. And a lot of time, what has happened is it keeps opening other doors. Wake up in the morning, Lord, we are grateful for everything. Sometimes my children ask, Daddy, it's only Thanksgiving that you're doing. Yes, it's Thanksgiving. If that is all we can do, it's enough. You know, and it's like Psalm 67, he said, as we give God praise, the earth yields its increase unto us. So for me, that heart of gratitude never leaves me, and I pray it will never leave me. So it colors every other part, because as you look at it, the abundance mentality in itself is still hinged on that part of being grateful. The more I am grateful, the more I attract more. The more I'm grateful, the more I'm able to see clearer and see more opportunity. If I go about being cranky, and I won't see things. For me, chapter 7 is number 1.
Awesome.
Every other one, yes, chapter 14 was it. Well, when my guy's taking it, who am I to go back and mention the impression of increase? So I stick with chapter 7 for
awesome. Yeah, I'm sure that that was also a good chapter, honestly. And what I really liked about the chapter on gratitude is that I'd heard preachers in the past talk on gratitude, but I'm not sure I understood gratitude as much until I read the book. The effect of gratitude, I didn't understand it until I read the book, until I went through this, not just even reading it on my own, going through the deep dive with my mentors. That was when I was able to understand what exactly you're doing when you're staying grateful about something. An interesting thing is that there was a bumpy point I had in my work earlier in the year. And, I went back to read chapter 7. I was like, I need to read this chapter 7 again. I need to read this chapter 7 again. I read chapter 7 again, and I focused on that, space, staying grateful. And within weeks, something started to shift again. And that's why, Tolu, I will come to you on your own top, right? But I just didn't want to forget mentioning this. There was something we all appreciated on the last CEDAR table when we did this conversation, when we had this conversation. And that's with understanding what science really means. Science means something you can predict. Science means something you can repeat. Because a lot of people are like, oh, science, because I know, like you all have also said earlier, you would have had your caution at the beginning. What's all this about? Metaphysics, ungodly stuff takes my heart away from God. But if you really look at the word science, science means it can be repeated. Science means that it can be predictable. And that means that every single time you follow these things, because there are things that God has set as principles, you will see results. The question is, do you even know these things? And the question is, even if you know them, because some people say, oh, we're going to talk about gratitude in our church. But yeah, how are you locking into it? Because you can have an idea about something, but you're not locking into it at the level you should be. So that is what I would chip in, on some of these concepts that we're sharing as our favorites from the book, hoping that you will not just take it lightly to say, oh, I know that. I know what that is. It's not just to do extra for someone. It's not just to be grateful for something. I'm grateful. I don't see result. How are you doing? With what way? Are you doing it in a certain way? Oh, let me not go into Tolu's gist here. Tolu, just tell us what's your favorite? What was your favorite part of the book?
Okay, although Mr. Sikomi is about to sway me, but I know he wants to sway me into chapter 7. But I know Greek. I stick with my chapter 14.
Okay.
I've always said it right from the impression of increase. For me, that was like the icing on the cake. And I guess because it also resonated with things that maybe I didn't recognize as they were kind of like personal philosophy for me. Because sometimes I used to see myself that I even sometimes I volunteer information, even when the person receiving the information may not exactly, like have asked for it, or is even kind of like remotely interested. But I just realized that I have this passion to always want to like pass on information, especially when it is information that I have also received from somewhere that I feel has impacted me positively. So for me, that was like a big deal, because I also realized that as much as you try to help people grow, it's also helping me too. As in, I'm becoming, like stronger in whatever it is that I'm talking about to another person. And I think for me also, it's also a case of, you want somebody to live, like if somebody interacts with you, you want the person to live off being better, almost like having to say that I've learned something new. Not for them to feel empty, like maybe you've had a conversation with somebody and that person cannot point to one thing, even whether it's maybe in academics, or it can be maybe social or something, or spiritual. There has to be something that you are able to impact to somebody. I'll give this quick example. I like to use a lot of mundane examples. I'm big on that, because I always believe that in the little lies the great, like they say. So a few days ago, a dispatch rider came to supply us drugs at the hospital. And when he had supplied us, they were like, I was standing with two other members of staff who are not even in my department. And then he was asking for description to get to another location where they were supposed to make some other deliveries. And so because of the way the terrain of our office and all, it was kind of difficult to explain to him how to get there. So I just noticed that the other people were giving kind of like, it was a bogus description. The way I was looking at it, that there's no way this guy is going to get this with the way the roads are now, with the traffic, the road detours and all. So I just mentioned to him, I said, okay, do you know how to use Google Maps? And he was like, oh no, I don't really like Google Maps, blah, blah, blah. And then before I knew it, I just realized that the two other members of staff that we're talking with, they had drifted off. So it was just me and him. And I just had this feeling, I just had this, compassion that I don't want this guy to get lost, because I know the way the traffic at my end can be. So for you to now get lost in the middle of the crazy traffic will be like double jeopardy. So I just told him, okay, open your phone. Let me show you how to use Google Maps. Because the truth is, there was some time not too long ago that even I didn't know how to use Google Maps. It was foreign to me. As in, the first time I saw a friend of mine use it, went to Ibadan together, I felt intimidated, as silly as it sounds, because it was like, this one is new technology that I can't use, but it's something that was accessible on my phone. All I needed to do was open it up. But I just shut down my mind, thinking like some elaborate, thing for maybe people that travel abroad, that maybe it's not for Nigeria. So at the end of the day, I told the guy to open his phone. It was taking a bit of time, but something wanted to tell him that, look, why are you disturbing yourself? Just let him go. Say, turn right, turn left, ask people to direct you. And I said, okay, open your phone. So I now started telling him, okay, this is what you do. Type in this location. This is the one that Google has brought out. Okay, go to this place first. From here, it's easier for you to ask for the other place where you want to go, because they're probably within the same, area. And then I now explained to him, okay, so when you get into your car, just click on the start button. It will begin to give you prompts. And he said, yes, sometimes he has led them astray. I said, yes, it's possible. But the good thing is that if it leads you up to a point where you're now stuck, you can always ask. It's easier for you to get redirected from there. And the guy was obviously very, very thankful and grateful. Thank you very much. And I left that place feeling good, because I felt at least I've helped this guy to save time on trying to make his deliveries now. And probably from there, he'll get a better grasp of the use of Google Maps. And for me, that's an impression of increase, because he could go the next 6 months, next 1 year saying, oh, you just did, I don't like Google Maps. Meanwhile, he's sleeping on a treasure of information that will help him get his work done smarter and in the least possible time. So for me, if I get to teach somebody, help somebody to see something that they think is like something that is beyond them, I think that for me is also living a fulfilled life. And the good thing is, as I'm teaching somebody else, I'm improving on my knowledge of that thing. Awesome. So that's why for me, chapter 14 will always be top there for me.
Awesome. That's so good. We definitely have something in common. I have that as well, because I think a lot of people feel stuck entering into some certain levels of things in their life because they've not had someone tell them you can do this.
Yeah.
And that it is so simple, because
Yeah.
the fact that you've not started doing it or you've not gotten there, you just feel like it's difficult. And I think on behalf of the panel, I would like to let everyone who is watching today and who will be watching the replay realize that getting rich is simple. I did not use the word easy, but it is simple, because God will not design something that would be difficult for us to be able to achieve. The idea is, or rather the question you should be thinking about is, do you want it? That's the first question you need to answer. Do you want it? Do you even want it? And if you don't want it, you also need to ask yourself, why don't I want it? And Dr. FolaFayo said something at the beginning when he said, yes, there are side effects to everything, but are you going to dump something because of the side effects when the impact or the value that that thing is going to give you will surpass even the side effects? I don't want us to miss out on that. And just as we go into that, I know that time is fast gone, but I want Tolu and Sukomi to just close a bit on this for us. When you think about how you were before the program and afterwards today, as well as the investment you made in time and money to be part of the program and the value you've gotten, that comparison before and after dedicating that time, the funds you put in, how would you compare it? How would you compare it? Sukomi, you go first.
Comparing it, I think for me, it's a worthy investment. It's a worthy investment. The value I got from being part of the masterclass far outweighs what I paid for it. The network, the experience, I don't know whether I'm permitted to say this, the substance that the faculty brought to bear during the discussion is something that what we paid, for me, pales into peanuts. Having a session with FolaFayo, there is somebody you must look out for, and I need you to join this. Her name is called Bukola Gbeniga. It's truly with Beoga. If you understand, it helps to fine-tune our financial processes. So the time, the resources, we came out far, far better. Far, far better. If you are planning to join a loan, if peradventure you are a couple, I will encourage you, come along with your wife. It helped my marriage. We had a wonderful experience prior to that class, myself and my wife. We are on different tangents when it comes to money. My own is the money comes, we spend. God will provide another one. My wife is the money come, trap it. So that you can use it to get other. But it helped us to change our perspective. You can still achieve what you want to achieve and still be better off for it, not just squandering resources. So for me, it is an investment that is worth your time, your resources, everything. Dive into it, please. That is my encouragement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tolu?
Yes, I agree. For me, I always believe that they say the day you stop learning is the day you start dying. And the truth is, the book offers a lot of insights, for whatever anyone thinks that you may know about some things. Yeah, some people already have some principles, somewhere that you're already, following, but to have a book that comprises of all these principles and it's bringing it together, I think it's a priceless investment. And like I always say that I think ignorance is a higher price to pay. If you sometimes you can't always look at the monetary value of some things. It's easy to get scared away sometimes when somebody says, "Oh, come and do this thing." How much? That money is too much now. But if you look at the ignorance, that the price you have to pay for ignorance is that when you don't know something, and then like you said that you had that book, you had the access to the book over 10 years ago, and you didn't, access it, and then you look at it that, oh, if I had known this thing almost 10 years back, how much more farther would I have gone? So for me, I think that if you are thinking of, oh, it's too expensive or it's too high a price to pay, think of the ignorance of when you don't know something, because the truth is, what you don't know, you don't know. And they say that ignorance is not an excuse for something. If they say 2 + 2 is 4, and they ask you in an exam 2 + 2, and you say, I didn't know, it doesn't change the fact that it's 4. So you are just going to be the one on the losing side.
Yeah.
That's it, because the person that knows is going to write 4 and is going to get the full mark.
Yeah.
You are not going to be able to tell your teacher, I wasn't in class when they taught 2 + 2. But the thing is, it was taught anyway. So that's where I see it. I think it's a worthy investment. I mean, adding that to whatever knowledge that anyone may have, gained over the years, it's a major plus. And I think that anybody who goes through this course would definitely have themselves to thank. And the masterclass, they'll have themselves to thank in the long run that, they had the opportunity to rub minds with other people from other walks of life, other stations and status, financial status, and also just for the fact that you allow those things to come into your heart and to your soul and to your mind, and then you can also work on it and work towards, becoming a better version of you, a wealthier version of you, a more financially free version. And yes, I must add that the one-on-one sessions was also very, very, was like an icing on the cake for me, especially with you, FolaFayo, and also with Buki. Because I had the opportunity in the one-on-one class to ask questions that maybe in a bigger class I would have felt a bit shy to ask, because I'd feel that, oh, okay, I'm dealing with people that have already started experiencing these things in multiple folds. Then me, I'm now asking, what is compounding? And then because you're afraid of what others will say, you just keep it to yourself and you don't know. But with that one-on-one session, you can be as simplistic as possible. I can ask, please, sorry, I don't know, but what is A + B? How does A and B turn to C? Or, that kind of thing. And you have the expertise of someone like P, who's also very patient, and even offered, help beyond the one-on-one course. And also, I think it's a very invaluable course, masterclass, that anybody who takes it would be glad they did.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know a lot of people will be hearing some terminologies that the two of them have been using. Like, what are you guys talking about? Okay, let me just break it down for people who don't know what is packed in the program. Now, we want you to have a wholesome experience. So unlike some other programs that even I have attended, where I just learn and I'm left on my own, or I don't have the opportunity to really collaborate with people in conversations and things like that. First of all, we're giving you a mastermind group setting. So you're learning with a group, all right? So we're going to be having the sessions as a group. However, you're going to be having a bonus of a private session with me, all right? And then you're going to be having a private session with a financial planner and coach who is on the member of faculty. She's not here with us today because of work and travel, all right? She's not in town to be able to join this call. But Buki Agbeniga is someone you definitely want to meet. She's someone that has been in this finance space for years. She has helped a lot of people with personal finance, and she's one of the faculty members, and her focus is on giving you balance. So we are helping you to get that mindset thing right, okay? But she brings the balance to your technicalities on investment and putting robustness to your finance, right? And that's what you're going to be getting. Then, of course, we have Dr. Bufayo giving you a balance on the biblical perspectives for people of faith. It's a robust program. That I can tell you. We put our heart into creating this. And like Sukwami said earlier, there were audio supports that he also got to listen to. So everybody has access to that. So each chapter of the book, apart from you reading the chapter, so you're not going to be reading the chapter alone. You're going to be reading the chapter with an audio support, all right? So we're reading the chapters to you and explaining certain things that you might not have considered reading it on your own. So it's a complete package. That's what I can tell you. I know we put our heart into it. Why? Because we wanted to leave you with an impression of increase. That is the reason why. We wanted to leave you with an impression of increase, and we have started seeing changes in our lives, and we didn't want to leave many people around us staying in the levels that they can experience a change on. All right. Now, as we come to our final words for tonight, Dr. Bufayo, this is what I want you to focus your final words on. As a faculty member, what's your most fulfilling part contributing to this resource?
Most fulfilling part is listening to people's testimonies, right? Seeing what Sukomi, Tolu, and several others both the last batch, the previous one. Actually, we even had people from the previous one join the last batch to share their own experience as well. That's the most fulfilling part of it for me. When you see how in 6 weeks, mindsets can change and opportunities that you are not aware of before starts to open up. I've discussed with people, so even I know Sukomi didn't have opportunity to share tonight, but opportunities that, probably before then it will pass by you without you noticing. Now, with the awareness that this science of getting rich brings, you all of a sudden realize opportunities are not monopolized. The same opportunities that Elon Musk, who he is today, maybe a local version of it is available to you. Maybe even an international version is available to you. And not only, for me, it's also fulfilling that what we share with others, you can also see in your own life as well. I mean, between last year when we ran this program and now, as in the opportunities that have come my way, our way as a family, is amazing. It's like every week there is a new opportunity. Now, of course, you can now decide if you want to plug in or not, but it's amazing. The things that we've grown in leaps and bounds as a result of it. So again, my final call is for those who are joining tonight or those who watch the replay and you're like, okay, I've been here before. Is this real? Please don't waste time. Okay. I can almost call this a money back guarantee that you will shift. This one, we are not going to be teaching you invest here, put money there, the concepts of the book are deeper than that. They are so deep that once you catch it, right, you catch it, your eyes will open to opportunities around you for wealth. You will all of a sudden realize that you've been sitting on a gold mine that you were not aware of before. So it's a mind shift kind of, mastermind that will leave you transformed. I mean, your friends will be asking what happened to you, what hit you. So please don't waste time. As we drop the details, go for it, and you will be glad that you did.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure having you on the faculty and hearing those perspectives. I'm excited already. I'm looking forward to what this next class this year are going to be bringing to the table. Sukomi, what will be your final words for us tonight?
I'll ride on what Dr. FolaFayo said. Please do not hesitate. Whether you're watching this live or you watch later, it is a sure way of changing your approach to life. I came into this with a little bit of skepticism, but I left fulfilled. Like Dr. FolaFayo also referenced, we have reference. We have I'll say guide. I won't use it guideposts, but we have evidences in our lives after this that things have shifted. We see opportunities everywhere, and the ones you walk by before, we are eager to pick it up. So it's not about having all the money in the bank. It's about identifying the opportunity and going for it. Yeah. And it's sure going to produce. So my encouragement is, please do not hesitate. It might look daunting, 6 weeks of maybe Tuesdays and Saturdays or Tuesdays and Fridays, but I can guarantee you, once you get in the groove, you don't want it to end. You can see from even the discussion tonight, we're supposed to have 1 hour, but this is the way the family flows. Once you get into the groove, there's so much to learn, there's so much you want to share, and that impression of increase also, because you've learned so much, you also want to be able to pass that on. There was a gentleman that always speaks very quietly in our team, and anytime he opens his mouth, like, this guy should not stop. He should just be dishing it out. So it's something you want to look forward to. You have people on different planes with different experience that will enrich whatever perspective that you have. And please, if for anything you are joining this, don't miss out on that recording. It's worth much more than anything you are paying for.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tolu, what about you? How would you leave us tonight?
I would just say my parting words would be, first of all, you have the right to be rich. that's like the summary of the book. You have the right to be rich. Opportunities are not monopolized. There are opportunities everywhere, but you only just need to be able to see, to be able to be open to know that the things that you need for your next level, they're all around you. You know, you have questions and the answers are all around. Sometimes it's just knowing where to ask and when to ask. And these are some of the things that the book helped me, you know, the master class in as a whole, reading the book, and it helped me to open my eyes to those things, you know, and that you can expand your horizon. I mean, those are, how did they say? They said, dare to dream big. They are free after all. Dreams are free. You can dream, you know, for whatever you want. It's a free world. And beyond that, there's the opportunity for you to experience all the things that we are, you know, that you're dreaming about. So my parting word would be to everybody, it's an opportunity of a lifetime, you know, to expand your horizon, to expand your thinking. And, you know, like what they say, what your mind can conceive, then you can achieve. If your mind can't conceive it, it might be, the achievement will be difficult. And maybe that's where a lot of us struggle. Is that because sometimes we don't see the possibilities. And once you're able to see those possibilities, the achievement is not as difficult as, you know, seeing the possibilities. So I think the first thing is being able to open our minds. And this is one thing that the book and the masterclass will help you to do, is to open your mind. Once your mind is open, then, you know, the possibilities they are endless, you know, as far as you can see. As God even told Abraham, as far as your eyes can see, you get for an inheritance. So I think that for me is the parting word for anybody, you know, thinking, contemplating. Go for it. I mean, there is nothing, absolutely nothing to lose, and more to gain, much more to gain.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you all. Tolu, thank you.
It's a pleasure being here again.
Thank you. Sukomi, thank you. I know you guys wanted to drag us, like you normally drag us in the sessions, and then Talk About FolaFayo has to do timekeeper for us. Say, guys, we need to close tonight. Yeah. So thank you so much. And Talk About FolaFayo, thank you for, you know, showing up despite the late hour you have on your end. We really appreciate that. And yes, we're going to be dropping the link. So we hereby declare the C.E.D.A.R open for year 2022. So we're going to drop the link just below this, and then you can share with your friends. And of course, if you're a member of C.E.D.A.R, you get a discount. You get a discount. There's an early bird costing. And just as I, you know, round off tonight, saying thank you to everyone who has joined, I wanted to let you know that the participants from our first year was so blessed. A participant was so blessed that he sponsored seats in the second year. And we already have participants from last year willing to do some sponsorship for this year. That is how big the change is. That is how incredible the transformation has been. So if you can have people saying, I know what I went through, I believe someone else can go through this, then you can just imagine what we're talking about. It's not child's play. This is something that will leave you different. It changed me. It changed my family. It changed everyone who has been a part. And I know that it can change. If you have questions on payment, question on timing, question on understanding, I am here for you. All right. So thank you everyone for being a part of Thriving Thursday today. And we officially
thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. We officially come to the end of a cycle of our Thriving Thursdays. Next month, we're going to be having Thriving Thursdays only on the 1st and the 3rd Thursday of the month. So I just thought to announce that so that if you come up on the 2nd and you don't see us, you will know that it's because we've changed our schedule. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sukomi. Thank you, Talk About FolaFayo, and thank you, Tolu.
Thank you, guys. God bless.
God bless. Enjoy the rest of the day.